This is Brian Carroll, and I'm really excited to have Kia Puhm with us today. She is going to be our guest, and we're going to be talking specifically around the areas of customer success. Now, Kia is an entrepreneur. She's an executive. She's held a number of positions from companies from Oracle, Eloqua. Over the past year, she has launched an advisory firm helping customers accelerate growth through innovation in the area of customer experience. So Kia's got an amazing perspective of how do we accelerate and grow our existing customer relationships. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background?
Thanks, Brian. Happy to be here. And sure, absolutely. I come to software from an educational background in computer engineering and from a practical experience background of 22 years in industry, working at rapidly growing, very dynamic software companies. I guess built every post-sales function, and always the sort of common denominator has been, how do the organizations I lead get customers to adopt software so that they are using it and get value out of it, and therefore translate into loyal customers that can translate into revenue at some point in time, additional revenue. And I had to do that with a finite, limited amount of budget and resources. So always trying to figure out how to drive that adoption equation while doing what I could or what I had available to me, and using that in the most efficient manner possible to do so.
What's the most significant trend that's affecting your work today?
That great question. I think I'm going to just have to say disruption. I think with all the changes happening out there to businesses, with technology and data and information we have, and artificial intelligence, and just the way the world is changing, it's changing how we operate. And so the biggest trend in the work that I do with my customers and helping them understand their customers and how to support that is how do you do that in a continually disruptive environment where things are always changing?
How are companies responding? I know I've read your work. We've had conversations about this. It seems that in this time of disruption, companies are still pretty vendor-centric. And so how can they move from this vendor-centric approach, product-focused approach, to being more customer-centric?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the key in terms of disrupting proofing an organization. Is there's been a lot of studies done and a lot of research that shows that companies that are operating from a customer-centric viewpoint, that really deliver amazing customer experience, far outperform their competitors that aren't customer-centric. And so I do think that is where companies are moving towards, and that is how we adapt to this, all these changes that are continually happening. And the reason I think that's important, not only the obvious, I mean, customers stay loyal when they're having good experiences and that the product is delivering on the promises that it says it's going to deliver, but also as our customers keep evolving and changing, so too are the ways that we operationalize that and support those customers. And so if you are customer-centric, it means you are observing that evolution that's happening with your customer base, and you're able to be very agile and nimble in responding to that as a business. And if you keep using that information, that observation of a customer, rather either passively or through active engagement with them to find out that information, you can feed that into your organization and continually change and respond to that to continue to drive that value for your customers and that loyalty that you need to keep growing your own business.
As I was listening to you, I spend a lot of time helping companies on the front side on acquiring customer relationships, and bringing this approach, or as you talked about, this evolution. It's something I think you've been working a lot around customer journeys to help companies understand that. And so tell us about how you use customer journeys to help improve how companies grow customer relationships and improve customer success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you and I have had conversations in at other times, and completely aligned in terms of what the type of approach that we look at, and we're aligned this way. I use customer journeys to facilitate that customer-centric thinking, to make sure that an organization understands what their customers, that empathizing, understanding what customers are trying to accomplish when they purchase your products. And when you understand it from the customer viewpoint, how you deliver and support, is specifically as it relates to software, how you support and deliver the various services that you need to, in order to help that customer adopt that software fully, and continue to drive ongoing value from that software, can dramatically change when you look at it from the customer's standpoint. And what I see all too often is, and it's so natural for us to do this as vendors, is we define the value proposition that our product is meeting in the market, and we organize ourselves for how we're going to deliver on that value proposition, and then we tell customers all about that. It's a very vendor-centric approach, and when we don't walk in their shoes, it's we're trying to push the product in an environment that we're not necessarily familiar with. And so I think problems with retention and why customers have difficulties adopting software is not because they don't necessarily understand the value prop, or they can't learn the software or understand it. It's because we put the onus on them to understand how to operationalize, how to take that software and put it in within their environment. But if we start to employ a customer-centric approach, and if we understand, why in general our customers buy our products, how they operationalize, what do their environments typically look like, what are some of the common trends and challenges that they have within their work environment, and how that software could seamlessly or best fit into that, we now take a lot of that burden off that customer. We make it easier. We make it feel easier. We make it more enjoyable to bring that software into their organization. And the faster we do that, the more we make it feel seamless and easier and have a better experience with that, the better they're going to adopt it. And then they're going to recognize the value, because it's going to have felt easy, and it's going to meet the objectives that they set out to achieve when they purchase the product. And that then translates into loyalty, and then when you build that loyalty through, trusted advisor type of relationships, that's where you can start to talk to them about doing more, which is that ultimate nirvana of expansion and driving more revenue out of that install base. So I use those journeys as the beginning step of understanding, walking in the customer's shoes, seeing what that looks like, so that then we can figure out how to align organizationally to that journey, and translate that into something that makes sense from their perspective, because it's coming from their perspective in the first place.
How are companies developing journeys, and how does empathy help organizations develop journeys that really are aligned, that are really helpful?
Yeah, great question. I think we're still in the infancy of journey mapping, I would say. I mean, there's definitely people that are quite advanced in it, companies that are advanced, and there's a lot of information out there on how to conduct journey mapping, and do that quite effectively. When I talk about the infancy, I think we still tend to map out the customer's journey, but we still do it from our perspective. So in the work that I do, I actually haven't seen yet. I hope I'm waiting for the day that somebody shows me a journey map that they've done that reflects the customer's viewpoint and their perspective versus the vendor-centric approach. So I think companies, to answer your question about how they're going about doing it, I think the process of creating a journey map is there's lots out there, and there's a lot of information that you can do that. I think where it becomes interesting, and this is the work that I do with my clients, and where it starts to create this agile business model is when you look at it from that customer's perspective, as I had mentioned previously, and then you start to align the operations. So I refer to this concept of an agile business model. If you've got that journey, then you start to add on what are the set of plays, what is that methodology and those operational, not just processes, but the role alignment and systems alignment technology that needs to be in place to support that customer journey. And now you've got this business model. And then if you've got this closed loop feedback where you're getting input from customers and you're feeding it back in, this is where the agile comes in. You can then respond to that, continually improve your operations as you're getting that feedback from customers as they're evolving, so that you've got this agile, optimized business model. And that's where I think journey mapping is not just the mapping per se. It's how do you operationalize all that and create that agile business model, where I think is the next sort of stage in evolution. And then to your point about the empathy, I think, I mean, it's just sort of common sense. How can you understand someone's point of view if you're not thinking from their perspective? And I think, that takes just that skill set of empathy to be able to understand that. And so that's the interesting work actually that I quite enjoy doing with clients is that getting those aha moments where, oh, wait, I thought I was doing it from the customer's perspective, but now I see I'm not thinking from their perspective. And then just that training that, keep thinking from the customer's perspective, and then things start to click. So just, honing those empathy skills.
What I'm hearing from you is to really understand how people think. We need to understand how are they thinking about their business now, but also understand the emotions. What are they feeling at various points of their journey? Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely a component. And in the industry, people often refer to the concept of moments of truth, right? Those are moments of truth, can be make it or break it interactions that customers have with your company as a brand that could be deciding factors of whether they continue to be your customer or not. And they tend to also be highly emotionally charged at those moments of truth. And there's other times in the journey that might not be critical moments of truth, and they're less emotionally charged. So I think there are emotional elements there that help to understand that customer perspective. So you need that emotional component as well, an understanding of that, because it might be what needs to be accomplished at a certain step in the journey can be delivered in multiple different ways. Well, if you know what the feeling of that customer might be, if they're feeling angst about using the software, if they're feeling really excited about it, if they're feeling bored about it, you might approach the discussion with a customer differently. You might approach how you're instructing them differently, or how you're working together with them. Those things all impact. And so when you have that visibility into that, you can be much more targeted and effective with how you are moving that customer through that journey.
Our listeners are probably saying, this sounds really good, but how would I go about doing this? What types of actionable advice or practical advice do you have for those who want to improve customer success and or improve how they're currently building their customer journeys right now?
Sometimes it can feel overwhelming or very abstract. How's the people often confuse customer success or customer experience with just making somebody happy or that feel good. I actually look at it very much as a disciplined way of operationalizing how you're going to engineer an amazing experience for customers, not only in the business outcomes they get, but that emotional experience. So it can become a very consistent, repeatable methodology and approach. It can feel overwhelming and like, where do I get started? The advice there is definitely journey map and understand from the, what would that look like from the customer's perspective, and then start to see how is your organization aligned in each stage of the journey to support that journey and those emotional points in that journey, or those critical moments of truth, to make it feel more organic, and that it's not this huge monolithic initiative that needs to be done, and you can't get started until you're absolutely sure that it's perfect before you launch it. This is where this concept of agility is what I think is so empowering, and why I employ it with my customers, why I think it's so powerful, is that, mapping these things out, maybe you don't get it right, but if you start to have this concept of closed loop feedback, where you're reading and understanding the customer more and more, then you can start to make that continuous improvement and really create that agile business model that keeps getting honed and refined as you learn more about it. So you don't have to have it absolutely right and perfect at the beginning. In fact, you might have it completely wrong, but if you map something out and you start to observe it and validate whether things are right or wrong, and start to use customer feedback to inform how you should tweak operations, or what you've got in place to provide a better customer experience, that's where you're going to continually optimize that approach. And it should continually be dynamic forever. None of us have static customers. They're just as dynamic as we are in our business operations. So let's make sure that we're continuing to observe them and see how they're improving or what they need help with, and build that into our models. So that actionable advice is journey map, build some initial model, observe it, and then keep honing it. It's not just a one-time effort.
That is terrific. I think a lot of people, often as they do their journey map, it's like, I'm done. And what
Right.
I think is, as you're sharing, is it's ongoing. We're going to continually learn as we dialogue with our customers, as we interact, and as we evolve, and so do they. And so I really appreciate all the thoughts and ideas you shared with us today. What's the best way for readers and listeners to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Best way is through my LinkedIn account. It's Kia Puhm, Puhm, and Kia KIA, or contact me directly. So any of I'm also on Twitter and obviously LinkedIn, as well as if you want to reach out to me directly via email, it's Kia KIA at KiaCX.com. So KIACX.com. Happy to field any questions or connect with folks that are looking to learn more, or just peers that are passionate about this space and want to talk about it as much as I do. Would love to connect.
Well, thank you again for joining us, sharing your ideas and your experience. And we'll also share some links from Kia for our listeners and readers that you can visit at the b2bleadblog.com.